So NFL season close to underway. I was laughing because I definitely want to spend the first like third of this episode talking about this because I was reading something that I'm sure we're all big fans of Mehdi Hassan, the journalist. He was saying because Cam Newton was in a press conference in New England saying, I'm not going to declare whether I'm vaccinated or not, which the NFL has a rule that treats that as unvaccinated. And Mehdi Hassan was like, no, absolutely not. If we hang out ever, anybody that I hang out with, I need to know their status and stuff. And everybody was commenting like, when are you going to hang out with Cam Newton? Like, he doesn't want to fucking hang out with you, dude. Like, it's like, you're not invited. Like, yeah, thanks Cam. Thanks Cam, but I'll have to pass, you know?
Yeah. So Cam didn't get it, right? He didn't get it.
No, he got it last year.
Mehdi needed to let you know he has it, and he will leave you have it too.
Yeah. Mehdi's got some fire spike protein.
You have to have it to hang out with Mehdi Hassan. I think I just got another reason to chill on this vaccine. There's one more in the books. Yeah,
From the 5 to the 6, we be in the mix with that RareCandy paint job on the whip. I need food for the kids, money for the rent. Fuck a lockdown, baby, I can't do that shit. And I don't never vote, cause I'm fucking broke. And either way, I know the police ain't gon' leave me alone. On a plane, about to visit Glen Rock. Need crypto, told me I should bring the Glock with me. So I packed up my piece and I'm sliding. Cause we might get caught up in a riot. Middle finger Trump, middle finger Biden. Fuck a left, fuck a right, is you riding? Know you love to see it, dudes rocking. Ain't no politics, baby, we just talking. From the birds to the bricks, we be in the mix with that RareCandy paint job on the whip. Who you with?
But Cam had it last year, so Cam's probably just like, dude, I have natural antibodies. I was told as of like 6 months ago, like maybe even sooner than that, that like that's better than, I mean, there were like, I was looking back at some of the archives. MSNBC had these things saying like, you cannot beat natural immunity. If you have antibodies, that should be enough to last a lifetime. And now they're like, nah.
It's so clear that the thing is, what I love about this pandemic is there's so many like normie doctors are waking up. People that are, they're like, I'm logical, I'm scientific. I just don't understand why we're not allowed to talk about herd immunity anymore. Like the concept just vanished. And these are like pro-vaccine, pro-everything doctors. Yeah. And it's so clear that this attack on, or this silencing censorship of even the thought of herd immunity, it's literally just a pharma ploy to make sure the vaccines hit their quota, and then they can start talking about it again. What do you think about that, Spencer? Yeah,
exactly. Because I have a friend who's a doctor now, and they told me the exact same thing, that what they learned in med school had nothing what we're hearing today. So something changed for someone. I mean, like, and I guess that's what everyone doesn't want to admit, right? That things don't just happen. This like, there's a reason why this happened and why vaccines became the number one indicator of whether or not herd immunity will be reached.
Yeah.
Sounds like it's benefiting specific people here, but here we are, right? Like, it's suggest there's something wrong. It's like, you're nuts. No.
It's actually the most anti-scientific thing going on right now, if we're going to use that term. The fact that you can reach herd immunity with a non-sterilizing vaccine for a virus that has animal reservoirs, right? It's like that doctor you or that
I love that
physician you sent me today. And I knew that about the animal reservoirs, but I was like, wait, that throws the whole thing out the water, right?
Which is funny because they say the virus comes from an animal too. When you think about it,
yeah,
like they're like, but it's from a bat, but there's no animal reservoirs. Yeah. But that's like it's the complete opposite. Like
you can only tell so many lies before.
The contradictions of like you said earlier, Glenn. Like, how many articles were like, herd immunity is the best. Now herd immunity doesn't exist. I'm sorry, natural immunity doesn't exist anymore. So, which one was it? Like, just the last thing you heard is now everything. There's no like principles that were backing up what was said like 6 months ago. It's I don't know how you can you can see you can't take it seriously. It's not scientific.
Yeah. But anyway, so the NFL, the reason, so if you're not an NFL person, not everyone that listens to this podcast is into sports, don't skip this part, because I do think this trickles down to employment. It already is. I mean, we've had this episode set up for a while. It already is trickling down that way. Now, my main point with the NFL, and now if you don't know, the NFL didn't mandate the vaccine. They did not. They didn't put anything out that said you had to have it. Now, there are two stark differences in how you're treated. if you're vaccinated or unvaccinated, especially in training camp. Essentially, if you're a coach and the Vikings let go of Rick Dennison, offensive line coach. Spencer, you were former offensive line coach. You know how hard it is to even coach at the level you were coaching at. This is a professional offensive line coach. These guys come from the mud, man, to get like where they are. And he was let go by the Vikings. Whether he might have left on his own, but I think they kind of just opened the door and said, look, you don't get that much time with these players. You're putting us at a competitive disadvantage. Whether I want to fire you or not, I have to have an O-line coach that's vaccinated so I can have him with my players. And so they let him go. And you're seeing that happen with all these other guys. These players were coerced into taking the vaccine. And I'm sure there's someone they can sue, right?
No, nowhere to go, just like the rest of us. And I think that's so true why the NFL is so important to look at, because the NFL is a spectacle. It's crazy, all the things that go on there. And guess what? Everyone's watching. All of us who have jobs, we're going to start to see exactly similar situations to what these NFL players are dealing with. So what a great way to kind of put everyone on notice. Be like, oh, your favorite team you've been following since childhood. Well, boom, everyone that's vaccinated, not vaccinated, no longer welcome on this team. So it's just preparing people for this. Like this eventuality where there will be a very, very stark divide on this issue, where you have people being coerced into it, media saying, oh, whatever, like, oh, poor Ryan Tannehill said at a press conference, you know, the NFL forced my hand to get this. Does anyone even care about the fact that that's obviously not informed consent, where he just had to do this because he, you know, obviously wants to be the quarterback of the Tennessee Titans and not hurt the team. So, but like, it's, I don't know how
it's crazy you can be a pro athlete, millionaire, and not be free. You know, you're still an employee.
Yeah.
You gotta fucking get a experimental shot.
And I want to come back to that. There's other situations. Like I follow the Raiders very closely. Like, that's my team. I do a show about them. That's my number one thing I pay attention to besides what we're talking about right now. So this is yeah, we haven't won a lot, but maybe there's something. Maybe if
what's Spencer's team or teams?
Pro Seahawks.
Okay, that's fair.
Okay,
well, I mean, it was proximity-wise, that makes sense.
Team in the league, number one.
Yeah. So he's Western, West Coast Canada. That would make sense. Yeah.
Crazy D line. Yeah, that's fucking.
Don't think too hard about all
yeah. So I listened to John Gruden talk about it, and they asked him about the vaccination rate, and he's like, I'm not gonna say who has it, who hasn't had it, and stuff. But in his head, he's thinking like he has to say though, he wants to put together a competitive football team. He's not pro-vaccine. These people conflate that where they're like, oh, John Gruden's doing the right thing. He wants all his guys vaccinated. It's like, no, he wants to fucking have a football team this year. Like that's what it is. And like for a fan's perspective, there's probably a lot of agnostic people about this shit, right? Where they're basically saying, where they're probably just like, dude, I got it or I didn't get it, but like, what's it to you, bud? But if you're a psychotic football fan like me, I even have to stop myself from doing it sometimes, where like you're just like all of a sudden when, you know, Lamar Jackson's the most important person on the Ravens right now. He's unvaccinated. So he just got COVID. But if he were to have that during the season, he'd miss probably 2 games. So as a fan, you become pro-vaccine.
Oh, shit.
And so that's what I'm saying. And like so this trickles down to the workplace, right? Because in the workplace in California, if you have a small group of like employees and one of them's unvaccinated, you all have to follow the unvaccinated protocol, masks, stuff like that. So who are you going to get mad at?
Yeah.
You get mad at the person who didn't get the shot. You're like, dude, I got the shot. Why didn't you get the shot? So like this trickles down because it, the way they say it is like, well, you're putting other people at risk. It's like, no. The rules are putting other people at fucking risk of like civil war within the employment center. And
you're blaming the wrong target with that.
Ron Rivera just got over cancer with chemotherapy. And it's kind of crazy because he's like, I want everybody vaccinated. I'm at risk and all this kind of stuff, which is really weird to me because we have somebody in my family somewhat close, like pretty close in the family that like passed away 2 weeks after vaccination, after they had just gotten rid of cancer out of their body. So I'm kind of thinking like, okay, Ron, whatever, like, but he uses it as a way to, I'm at risk. And the NFL really runs with that story. And this wasn't a very popular thing. Like, you cannot tell me that like vaccination was a very popular thing with most of the United States, but until you start not taking away privileges, taking away freedoms from people.
You're not even allowed to be marketing as an unvaccinated player, which is most of their money.
What?
Yeah, that was the first thing they said was on day one. They said, if you're unvaccinated, you are not allowed to be doing any promotional stuff, any PR, any marketing, building your own brand.
The NFL enforces that? The actual NFL?
And the NFL Players Association agreed to this. So this is kind of the place that we find ourselves in here now. You brought up a lot of great points, Glenn. I mean, the whole like protecting others things. Well, like, I don't know how the pro-vaccine people really can keep saying protecting others when, if you read NFL news, like reading the training camp reports, most of the people missing time for a positive COVID test were vaccinated.
Yeah.
Then because there are so many positive COVID tests amongst the vaccinated, which brings us to our favorite tight end, Jimmy Graham, who just simply asked, I was vaccinated and I was promised, every 2 weeks I would be tested as opposed to every day as if I weren't vaccinated. So, which is why Jimmy Graham got vaccinated. Then, of course, because the vaccine clearly is not what they're saying it is, because people who are vaccinated keep getting COVID, now everyone, every day, vaccinated or unvaccinated, gets tested. So what was the point of the vaccine? No point. Moving goalposts, because that's where it's going to be. It's going to be whatever privileges, like you said, like it's not even privileges, it's freedoms, right? So they're already unfree to begin with, but that tiny little bit of freedom you had within even your vaccinated status is now gone. So, I mean, where is this headed? Now we're going to have people who are like, unvaccinated, partially vaccinated, because the booster's already on the way. And that's fully vaccinated, like the man and be the same status as them. So
okay, so what you just brought up is exactly what I wanted to talk about in regards to the NFL and the players, is the whole booster thing. Who decide? Do you think they're gonna, at some level, are they gonna be like, no, even with the boosters, that's it. If you got the vaccine, you're still vaccinated, or are they gonna do like a, are they gonna move the goalpost yet again, so to speak? No pun intended.
They'll do it every season, I think.
Every season they'll have a new set of rules.
That the Delta is so unstoppable to the amazing vaccine. That's why we need the booster, because the vaccines were so good. The vaccines are perfect. Yeah. But this Delta, this sneaky Delta, just gets around the perfect vaccine.
What are your real thoughts on that? The Delta thing.
This is definitely they're twisting their arms. I personally believe what's going on is that it's like you have this very flimsy story to kind of trick people into thinking like, oh, get vaccinated, everything's going to get better. Because isn't that what everyone's saying, right? Like any walk of life, not just NFL players, but just everyone, they believe that once you get vaccinated, you're fine, right? But that's the thing, it's not. It's just the beginning. It's just the beginning. And like we can talk about the politics obviously later, but it's just the beginning because, now it's like you need a booster for Delta, you need a booster for Ligma, you need a booster for nuts. Like you need infinite boosters just to continue on in society. So it's like that's what they're trying to prime us for. And I believe that's what this whole stuff with the NFL players moving the goalposts, football pun intended, for the players is going to be just for us as well. So I just kind of view as like the NFL is like a spectacle world where like, it's kind of make believe. There's a lot of stuff where it's like, I wouldn't really buy it. It seems like a lot of media hype.
Like the politics of it. Yeah.
And the patterns. And I think that's what people is to see, like the labor relations are going forward. I mean, how's everyone saying it's a private business so they can just do whatever they want to their players? Well, guess what? We all work for private businesses, don't we? So
yeah.
The rest of them.
Also, I'm glad you said something about private businesses because I have a very hot take. Now, I see a lot of NFL players speaking out. Anthony Sherman, fullback for the Chiefs, spoke out, and he mistakenly, although I'm not going to lie, like it's not that far off, but he used the slavery. He said slavery. The minute you say slavery, everybody checks out. They're like, oh, white guy saying slavery. Like, this is not slavery. Check your privilege, like for getting vaccinated. Yeah. He's so that, okay, here's what it's like. I'll use an NFL example from what it's like. Okay, the private company thing. Nobody actually truly believes in private company rights. Nobody does, right? Like, I don't think they do. Like, there's people, even conservatives, right? Because if a private company was like, hey, we're abolishing gender in the workplace, they're like, all right, fuck that private company. You know what I'm saying? Like, so Colin Kaepernick, 5 years ago now, Colin Kaepernick was kept out of the league for kneeling, making a demonstration. Relatively harmless maneuver, right? Nothing that could, do anything, certain damage, but it polarized the world. And look, there are a lot of people who are completely red pilled, black pilled by that thing. But at the time, it just I've learned. I know a lot about Kaepernick. I think he genuinely felt what he felt. I don't think it was. I think it got co-opted.
Campaign. There was a PR campaign. So it's like, not to say he doesn't believe it, but like,
right?
What he was doing was a very real thing.
And he lobbed a softball to Nike. He lobbed it, like it was just very easy. So nonetheless, he does that. He gets everyone says the NFL coalesced to keep him out of the league, right? Because there's some people say, oh, Kaepernick sucks, right? Like he sucks. That's why he was out of the league. Yeah, he was on a downturn. I'll give you that. These were games where like Matt Barkley were starting though. That year they were trying out Matt Barkley, just garbage quarterbacks.
Mark Sanchez started that year.
Mark Sanchez, Luke Falk, like guys that I can't even remember right now. Just like you know,
CFL.
Yeah, he's in the CFL, and there's a lot of shit that year. Kaepernick should have been playing that year. Nonetheless, private company. Sorry, our hands are tied. That's what conservatives said. So now the libs and the left are using the private company excuse for the vaccination thing. So it's like, does anyone truly believe in private company riots, or is it just narrative based? Like, no, it's completely narrative based, which isn't sustainable because these companies aren't really that emotional. And they don't have these type of emotions. They make business decisions, and that's it. Yeah.
Well, what's the business decision today, right? The business decision today that no one seems to really care about is, you know, we are the threat. We are the biosecurity threat. So the business decision for every business is to contain the threat, and the threat is their workforce, which, I mean, you don't got to be a Marxist to figure out like, oh man, workforce as a threat, like,
yeah, it's a chin scratcher right there.
Yeah,
it's
that way. Oh yeah, the people that like make all the money, but like get paid, like create all the value, but get paid nothing. Yeah, they may be a problem. So I think that's what we're really in for, or will become very apparent that, you know, that's what the business needs to manage is our human capital. And then of course this, like you said, private company rights. Well, this is going to extend not just to private companies, but to governments. And then if we take a look at like, you know, highly secure nations such as Israel with a very secure human capital base, like that's their threat, but that's also what the future, which we will obviously discuss in the political section of this.
Yeah.
What they're trying to secure is the people.
Hell yeah.
You know what I hate though? Because I scroll the replies. I'm an NFL junkie, so I scroll the replies on these big like Ian Rappaport tweets.
You like self-harm and
I do. No, I do. It doesn't. It's starting to finally take a toll on me a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. Like I had pretty thick skin with this stuff. Like because I have a kind of like I'm kind of a masochist a little bit with stuff like that. Like I kind of like to like fuck myself up a little bit with news. But now it's starting to kind of take its toll on me.
I feel the same for me.
Nonetheless, people will say like so-and-so unvaccinated. Actually, another sport, baseball, just happened. John Heyman just said Anthony Rizzo got COVID for the Yankees. And he's like, wow, the most unvaccinated team in the MLB just had a COVID outbreak. Color me shocked, like that, which is like, is that even reporting, or are you just crying like a bitch? Like, I don't even like, it's not even like, right. This is like a verified MLB reporter saying this. Yeah. He's like, it sounds like a 7-year-old typing. And so then Anthony Rizzo was unvaccinated. And then a bunch of other people, one reply was, well, the Yankees famously got the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, which is only 70% efficacy. I was like, so it doesn't work. Thanks for telling me that.
So and it doesn't count for the vaccine. Yeah.
Well, it's not mRNA. So yeah, exactly.
Dude, people hate on that. The real believers hate on the Johnson. Dude.
So nonetheless, and what's funny, ironically, there's Woody Johnson of the Johnson & Johnson family owns the Jets. So like that's another thing. But so then you have Woody and Zach Wilson. It's funny, they drafted the one anti-vax guy in like the first round, Zach Wilson. Very interesting. And so I'm getting to this point where these guys will be like, yo, Lamar Jackson didn't get the vaccine, or Cole Beasley's famous one, right? Cole Beasley, Spencer, I think you and I talk about this. He's speaking for a lot of people. He's not, I think people are saying Cole tweet this right now. Like this is from Josh Allen. This is from Stephon Diggs.
100%.
Yeah, this is from Amari Cooper. This is right, or whoever, right? So Cole Beasley says all this crazy stuff, and someone will go, yeah, but when you break your leg, you'll just fucking take they do the Ken Klippenstein thing. They'll be like, you just take all these opioids, so it doesn't fucking matter, and you're scared of a vaccine. And it's like, well, first of all, there actually are exemptions of people who have addiction who can't take opioids, like Darren Waller for the Raiders and stuff. It's like, but the NFL doesn't look that far into these for like vaccines. Like, yeah.
People just forgotten. The opioid epidemic just never happened.
Which is true. It's like, those are both bad. Yeah. Like, I agree. Like, those are like both bad. But I think a player also can also opt out of that. And, you know, there will be some definite, like, good old boy NFL fans that'll just be like, fucking pussy, like take some opioids and get back out there. But for the most part, you can opt out of that without a lot of public scrutiny. I mean, Simone Biles just quit the Olympics. I mean, what are you going to do? Like, I mean, well, like, what do you, it's crazy.
You brought up something interesting. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. To your point about the opioids and stuff like that, it's just really interesting because, like, you know, the last epidemic that was sweeping the nation was the opioid epidemic, which caught up Darren Waller. Sadly, is a very inspiring story with addiction. Yeah. It's like, you know, who caused that? Like really bad medical advice and really bad FDA approvals, things that were clearly not okay for humans, and that, like, if you just used common sense at the time, you probably could have seen right through it, because it's like it's a very large, dubious, big lie kind of thing, where it's like this type of opioid isn't addictive like all those other types of opioids, which, you know, honestly mirrors a lot of the reasoning we're getting with like this like magical vaccine that was never really, well, if it was tested, I mean, the vaccine testing on animals did not go very well. So testing this, but the lack of testing on humans, they're like, oh, it'll be perfect, because why would anything bad happen when we're doing
what are you, some kind of rat? You gonna die? Yeah. that's the doctor just smoking a cigarette telling you that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's nuts.
Well, there's something that you brought. So the whole, like, if you don't, like, just get it because you do other crazier shit that's more unhealthy.
The Ken Klippenstein. Ken Klippenstein economics.
Now that, yeah, exactly. Fucking Ken Klippenstein. he's gunning for it, man. You could say that.
Yeah, right. I'm sorry, on Fed, but just real fast before I forget, Fed Post had a live stream, was really good, with Egg God and Yerk P and Headache were on there, and they had really they were saying this really funny point. Like, Ken Klippenstein a long time ago was just like, yeah, my source at the CIA told me this. And like, they're just like, you just know people at the CIA, Ken? He's like, yeah. What are you, some kind of Fed? He like calls you a Fed back. like he's triple masked at a Denny's, like with a newspaper in front of his face, like getting the intel from shit. Like,
he's got the CIA variant.
Yeah. Well, what do you know? What do you know, man? What can you tell me about Jeff Bezos? I heard he's bad. Yeah.
That's so funny.
Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry. You
no, experts at the CIA for everything, so why would they let him? They're his trusted sources that gave him his amazing journalistic career. There's no conflicts of interest, you idiots.
Exactly.
Try to talk to us like we're so fucking dumb. You can't see through these like obvious, like just so obvious. Like,
hella obvious. Yeah. He's like the young Anderson Cooper or something, just shining like a light, like just bright as a straight, pure Fed vibe.
Him and what was the other guy? Matthew Iglesias. Like, neither of them are pictures of public health, and I'm like, how do you get off telling people what to do with their bodies? Like, Jesus, you guys look like you just, like, I don't know what you do for yourself.
Well, I think they speak for a certain group in that regard. That there is a weird. It has always been a weird thing. I've noticed that the people that care more about their health on a day-to-day basis are the types that are less likely to care about random viruses or getting ill or everything, and versus versus people that are, like, I don't know, just, and I don't want to put anyone down, because I do think, okay, I'll say this, like, I think a lot of what's going on now is, like, we all experience mental illness in different ways. Like, this is the lib mental illness is this shit. It's like a literal, like, it's not validated mental illness. That's not a pejorative. I'm like, seriously, like, I think we all need help as a society to overcome our fear of, like, some fucking random virus that's like a respiratory thing, It's like, not saying that it doesn't hurt people. We all know it does, but it's anyway. So I wanted the vaccine injury thing, where everyone, like, most people will readily admit that there is a small percentage of people that are seriously fucked up by this vaccine, and that's going to happen to NFL players on some level. And if you keep giving boosters, it's going to start happening more, because this is an mRNA vaccine. This is why they've stopped trials in the past, because you need high ass doses of this shit, and that's what gives, especially healthy people, the side effects, right? So as you start to enforce more boosters, more and more people from the, like, I don't give a fuck crowd are going to be like, nah, I don't want this anymore, kind of thing, right? And I would assume that would include NFL players, where a lot of people feel coerced, but maybe they don't want to feel coerced for their fucking 5th shot or something like that, right? And the other thing is that these people that admit, they're like, yeah, some people are going to be harmed by the vaccine, but some people are going to be harmed by the vaccine, but for the greater good, we all just need to do this thing and take it, right?
Yeah.
What are those people? There's no real organizations that are accurately and legitimately following the side effect reports and being like, hey, maybe we should adjust the medicine a little bit. So we just have to accept that this is a thing that happens,
Yeah.
and that we're not going to do anything about it forever, essentially.
Yeah.
And so I don't know, go off, guys. On that.
I just think people should go to OpenVaers, OpenVaers.com, and just watch the number go up and up and up every single day. And that is what one Harvard study estimated as 1% of all vaccine adverse reactions. So there's that as far as reactions are concerned. Then there's the fact that the AstraZeneca guy goes into Reuters, Reuters being the head of Thomson
Pfizer,
Reuters, the report of Pfizer. It's so
Pfizer, connection.
The Pfizer guy printing this, so like you can only imagine what they say. Like, candidly, the AstraZeneca guy goes on to say, AstraZeneca cannot be held responsible if side effects begin showing up in 4 years. So now people are taking time bombs, basically, where where the companies who make their products that obviously feel so good about it and are so proud of it, that they will not be liable for anything down the road from what they did to all of us under basically gunpoint. Basically your life is going to be thrown down the tubes because like socially you're cast off as a unscientific like jerk, and two, like your employer would be like, oh, you're a threat to you're a biosecurity threat to this work.
Yeah, that's a common thing with the whole biosecurity threat thing. And there's just a clear economic thing here where, and people all think this is new to COVID. They're like, oh my God, these vaccines have legal immunity. And it's like, no, that's actually been all vaccines since 1986.
Like, Reagan.
Yeah, it's like not a new thing. And I had a second thought, but I'm spacing on it. It'll come to me. But yeah, this isn't a new thing, basically. And I got it. Yeah. And so because they protect legal immunity and they have a whole kangaroo court to do all the other vaccines and these ones, the payout money, which is substantial for a lot of families, like billions have been paid out for vaccine damage before COVID, right? That's taxpayer money. So we pay to fund the fucking drug thing. We pay to get it enforced and to spread it and everything when we buy it from the government, buys it on our behalf. And then we have to pay for the damages. So the company just extracts all the money and has zero risk and zero anything. And they don't have to pay any money. Like we have to pay on both ends. It's the craziest fucking thing.
You paid for the technology, you paid for their buildings, you paid for everything about everything pharmaceuticals. And half the shit they do, their pharma research, is done through their foundation grants. So that's all tax-free money that they pay for R&D. The most expensive part of getting this stuff off the ground, the taxpayers pay for. Like that's such a great point, Psi, and that's exactly what we're dealing with here. It's like the military-industrial complex, like the prison-industrial complex. Pharmaceuticals work all the same, where all the costs of it are placed onto the public, and all the benefits, all the profit is taken in by the oligarchs that set this up. But of course, to have such a clearly rigged system requires a lot of political treachery. And people think that they're like this because we're all us in the population, we're just these scared sheeple rubes who obviously can't see through this. But are we not noticing the giant propaganda campaign on the TVs and your phone screen, and your laptop screen, to tell you that pharmaceuticals totally fine, trust the science, don't think twice about it? Like this is what we're dealing with here, people. Like this is how oligarchs create a system like this, and this is pharmaceutical industrial complex, like you brought up, that started under Reagan. So we're actually where we're at now is like a combination of prison, because now it's like you don't go to prison anymore, you go to quarantine. So now we have the prison industrial complex joining in with the pharmaceuticals and the military stuff, because it turns out.
Stop! You're freaking me out, dude. This is
crazy, man. I'm sorry.
No, keep going.
Spencer
Finish
does
it.
that in our Discord all
Holy
the time.
Shit! I just got chills on my spine when you're like, "Oh my God, we're all prisoners now." Yeah, go on. Sorry.
No Netflix for 2 weeks during your quarantine because you're unvaccinated. You piece of shit. Yeah.
You're trying to log in. It's like, yeah.
Forgot password.
Holy shit.
QR codes, the phones you have, like my iPhone. This is Air Force technology. The GPS, all this stuff is all military being funded by the public. So you paid for everything inside this iPhone, which will scan your QR code to the cop that goes to your, French bistro when you're enjoying your French croissant, and then the cops show up and be like, "Where's your QR code?" And you got to give it to them. So this is what I'm saying, is that this prison that we're about to be forced into, this giant global prison, because it's everywhere. There's no country to run away from. Paid for by your money. So that is why, the only solution to any of this is taking back what is rightfully everyone else's, that everyone contributed to, that the workers actually created, stolen from us, weaponized against us, and now rolled out on us in this giant global class war that we're all living through right now. So I think you brought up like the exact best point, which is that this was our money. And it was our leader, well, not our leaders, they're very obvious political puppets that were put in place to then take our money, steal it from us, and build this giant prison complex that they've created over the world for the past like century or so.
Fuck yeah. Yeah.
Damn, that's crazy. I during all that, I did think about if I was Ryan Tannehill, because Ryan Tannehill got coerced into taking the vaccine. The first pick six I throw, I'm pointing at my arm like
throwing arm.
I don't coach. I don't know. Yeah. It could be an AC joint. I don't know.
He got the tattoo, the Pfizer tattoo on the arm, like people get,
I know. I would have my jersey be like Mark of the Beast is what I would like say on the back of it, like if I got coerced.
Watch them have vax on their fucking jerseys.
Yeah. Oh yeah, wristbands, colored wristbands. Yeah.
Wait, really?
Yeah. They're gonna have referees call more pass interference on like a corner that's unvaccinated or something. Yeah. 5-yard cushion there in coverage, sir. That's the rules. Unless you want to be a real man and take a shot.
Yeah. So tell me, because you guys know more about
toxic
NFL.
Masculinity. No one's talking about this toxic masculinity. Where's the think pieces, people?
Those articles, they're coming. They are totally. I can see the headlines now.
They're not coming. Yeah. People hate us.
So tell me, guys, who are because you know more about NFL players than I do. Who, besides Cole Beasley, who are the guys that may be laying low, but they're like, nah.
Hopkins, right? DeAndre Hopkins.
Okay.
I don't know if some of these guys, they might have ended up getting it because it's been so bad. Like as of a couple of weeks ago, there was DeAndre Hopkins, Lamar Jackson, who just got COVID again. And it was crazy because like I just watched Lamar Jackson before we started. He was like giving a press conference at like training camps. It was his first day back. And they're just like, so how was it, Lamar? And he was like, it was fine. Yeah, he was like, I was sick. Like, just felt bad for a couple of days, fatigued. He goes, I'm ready to let it go now. And they're like, wow, Lamar is back. Like, I cannot believe it. Like they're in this. It's like, this top
disease. We locked him in this room for a few days, and we didn't know he was gonna come out. Like, come on, people.
Yeah. Lamar should just be like, look, man, all I'm saying is we need to abolish gain of function labs. All I'm saying, like,
if Lamar legit wins this year, they're gonna try and spin it, or they're not gonna let him win. They're gonna be like, we can't have a fucking unvaccinated.
After further review, number 8 stepped out of bounds in overtime.
It's gonna be some touching the pylon. Yeah.
Therefore, that's a turnover. They're like, the turnover. Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly.
That I did not know that. And I was like, wow, that's very interesting to see. What I think is very interesting about amongst the unvaccinated players is that there's a mix of white and black. It's not it's a very weird narrative that is developed about unvaccinated people. It is like crazy Trump people, which I mean, I'm glad you brought up Anthony Sherman. He is a crazy Trump person.
Sure. Yeah.
It spans a lot of people and for obviously many reasons. Lamar Jackson, like we've just been discussing. So it's like the fact that this has been turned into a Republican thing, I think really goes to show like the level of deception going on and like why you need to deceive so many people about what the real situation is. Because I believe it's going to be really fucking hard on unvaccinated people going forward, and they're just going to pretend like it's all evil MAGAs and not just like Black people that know that the government does do this kind of stuff where they do test on people, where they do lie and then just pretend like nothing ever happened and move on, like when they poisoned everyone in that. It was a Baltimore housing project where they just like started pumping in radiation just to see what radiation poisoning looked like in a black, like in a housing project. And I'm like, well, that's very interesting that you're working on, in the 70s, clearing out housing projects of the undesirables. And now we have this magic vaccine.
Yeah, like Darius Butler, I believe, was a corner for the Colts. I'm not sure if he's still on the Colts, but he was saying, like he kind of had one of those, like he's kind of one of like we need to steer Darius Butler to the correct anti-vax videos, like because he was kind of like he was like he was doing like the 5G like that type of shit, and I'm just like, dude, don't do that. Like to me that's like almost like a reverse, like you're trying to like create this new narrative, like control the narrative of the opposition, like a controlled opposition thing, but.
Him and Ken Klippenstein are in a a group chat.
He works for the CIA. That's his informant. But I don't think he was doing it like that. I think he just read something that maybe was misleading or something. And but it was funny because like everybody, like Arian Foster would comment. And Arian Foster is like a super fucking lib, like kind of like fake left with a PH guy, and he'll or PHPF. I got my own trademark thing wrong, but he was like, yo man, get off YouTube, man, get off Rogan, dog. Like he was like saying it, but like super AAVE, like to like almost be like, what's up, my brother? Like get off that vaccine, get off that anti-vax shit. That's like for white people. It's I was like, dude, oh my God, like. And
that's
you know,
big barbershop Elizabeth Warren campaign energy.
Yeah, well, that was funny because I remember the Biden administration was trying to get to like 1,000 barbershops to like do pop-up vaccine shops.
Why do they always go for the barbershops? It's like the only thing they know about. Like they're like,
sorry,
no, black people like barbershops, right?
I mean, they black people from like every other part of society, so they're like, great, we'll just go to the last place we left them with.
But those are like the least like, dude. Like I used to get my haircut back when I used to get my haircut at like at a barber college out here, and like, I'm sorry, dude, there is no chance those guys would be like, yeah, go ahead and inject people with shit in my shop, like a bunch of like Men in Black looking dudes like popping in, like, and they're like, yeah, go ahead, sure, man, go ahead. That's like legit. No, like what barbershop was this? Like, I just want to know, like that was taken because like they weren't paying that much money. It was like, it was. It's crazy because like Spencer's been pushing this. That was really what I thought. It's like you're fucking racist if you like are actually like trying to like make anti-vax people second-class citizens because you have to look at the demographics. Like you are.
Well, and that's who's being targeted though. Like that is exactly who is like, you know, what this is aimed at. Like you brought up like the barbershops, the hip hop videos, like the fact that they started the vaccinate BIPOC stuff right at the beginning. It's like, oh, and then sorry, on that exact point, it's now they've also added in the factor, which is like, which I think is extremely racist right off the jump, which is simply vulnerable people, aka people who have like historically been totally destroyed by oligarchs such as like Black people, Latinos, indigenous people. So they're like now vulnerable communities. I'm like, I don't think that makes them any more vulnerable in the fact that they just live in a ghetto by you people like you know, like shit-lived white people forcing them there. That's what makes them vulnerable. But anyway, so that's the semantics of that. And then they say vulnerable people get hit harder by COVID, and thus we need to like vaccinate the vulnerable people more and like be very focused on them, which is like so obvious that it's like you're blaming Black people, you're blaming Latinos, you're blaming just unvaccinated people in general for everything about COVID, which I mean, now you can just scroll through any comment section and then it's like, well, thanks vaccinated people, that's unvaccinated people, that's why everything's gone to shit. That's like how everyone feels about it, which is just code for.
How is this not the systemic racism? It fits every. It's funny that those are the guys that are pushing it, the ones that are always complaining about the most, which I do believe in. You know, it's a real phenomenon. There's systemic racism out there.
Yes, well, I mean, what made them vulnerable in the first place? People
exactly.
Like, we're so concerned about vulnerable people. I'm like, you made them vulnerable, poisoning the water, you asshole. Like the hell, you like?
Yeah, it's not like they're inherently vulnerable. You know,
pointing it. That's exactly it. That's eugenics right there, where they're like, your African DNA is what is vulnerable.
That's the psyop, dude. Yeah, exactly. There's definitely a lot of that for sure.
Yeah, no, and it's very like I've seen certain people like scrolling through the thing, and you'll see like some white like 55-year-old like one with a bunch of blue waves like in her Twitter account, like resist Trump sucks for repeal 45, and just like. Yeah, you know, like if those people just didn't stop listening to their rap and stuff like that, they'd get their vaccines and stuff. And it's like, oh my God, like it's literally pull up your pants. It's the fucking Bill Cosby pull up your pants thing. Like people don't want it, man. People just don't fucking want it. Yeah. You're just gonna have to live in a life that maybe poses a little bit of risk. And obviously we're talking about the risk that this shit ultimately poses. But for this person who believes everything CNN says wholeheartedly, you are never going to live in a zero risk environment. Stop trying to create one. You're going to go insane. Just because your mental illness is validated does not mean it's not mental illness.
Boom.
It's very scary with the whole like zero risk stuff, because I think we've hinted on like the pod stuff as well. Like, you know, this whole like new way of doing things, because it's like, oh, because there's so much risk involved. And I think we saw it another sports thing, the NBA quarantine bubble. That was a very, very ominous.
Oh, I know. Yeah, I already forgot about that.
Where they literally just had serfs living there for the entire NBA finals, doing all the work. And that was what was safe. And of course, you just watch the video of them thanking them. It's all Black people. It's all colored people. It's all working class people. It's all poor people. And that's what it is that like, oh, you pose a threat. Like, we need to save lives. And like, what lives are we talking about? Like, we got to save like these oligarch lives because they're like 9 could die at any second because they're like held together by like tape and surgeries and stuff like that. Like, okay, I'd rather me live my life than like, sorry, like, 90-year-old billionaire, it's time for you to go. Life goes on, man. It happens. But like, that's how this is being spun, right? It's like they try to make it like, oh, we're saving Granny. They're not saving Granny. It was mostly old people who died from this stuff. It's like just so obvious. But then of course the working class people, like we talked about the pharma industrial complex, working people take all the costs. All the horribleness of making the NBA bubble happen was borne onto the working class people. All the fancy NBA people just had to be like, oh, this is scientific. Yeah, this is all good, like very safe, like let's go. And then working class people make all this shit happen for nothing extra because it's a pandemic emergency, climate emergency, terror emergency of your choice. That's why we can't do anything better for you.
Damn, it's beautiful. Yeah, exactly. And like, yeah, I'm tired of especially playing like Simon Says, because that's what this whole thing is Simon Says. Because nobody fucking believes the same thing. Even the people that are like, we talked about it with Alex G, where it's like some people are like insanely married to masks. They're like, I don't care what you put in my body, I'm still wearing a mask. Some people are like, I got my vaccination, it is perfect, therefore I'm gonna lick the counter at 7-Eleven. And like and you like there's these people that have like these insane politics, and like there'll be new news and they'll talk about cases, keep reporting cases. Hey, Florida has this many cases, and people will be like, but they're all vaccinated, the media is against us. I'm like, no, they're not. This is just not going to end, and you're coping. Like, and I'm just tired of playing Simon Says. Like, I opt out of that game entirely. Like, I don't want to do that anymore. I can't stand it. I like look at the original before we even had a vaccine. Who was pimping the vaccine the hardest before we had one? Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Donald Trump. Remember, you don't trust Johnson & Johnson, Pfizer. You don't trust it, Kamala. Yeah, like he was like saying that at the debate. To her and to Joe and all them. You don't trust these manufacturers. This is a fantastic vaccine. It's the best thing I've ever had. Like, and he's like, I'd get more if I could.
Everyone memory holds that shit.
Everyone memory holds it. Yeah. So what I'm hoping is that like an NFL player is like, hey man, I just hate Trump. I didn't want to take a fucking Trump vaccine. I'm waiting for like an NFL player to say that. I can't even take, that's not even an original thought from me. That's from Basil Neobactrian, actually, was a fantastic Twitter user. He had he said that he's like, why don't people go to that well more? Like just like Trump would, and then you always see the people do these really good like compilations of screenshots of people like Brooklyn Dad, and like people just be like, I would never take a fucking Trump vaccine, not ever. And like, liberals do that thing where they put fucking in every sentence to make their stupid politics sound edgy. Like, where they're like, fucking, I'm never going to fucking take a fucking Trump vaccine. Or like,
first in line.
First in line. They cut in front of the black person at the line, and they're like, they have no access.
They literally
no
did.
access. Glazed donuts all over their mouth. The free Krispy Kreme. They're like, they have no access to this.
Krispy Kreme, who had to apologize for being part of the Holocaust. So it's like, who are we really?
Don't gloss over that. Don't glaze over that, if you will. What was
keep going.
In Disney World. Famous anti-Semite Hitler supporter Walt Disney. I'm like, how many more?
He hated Jews.
Like, these people are gung-ho about public health, just like another regime that was very concerned with the health of the nation, and except they had an outbreak of Jewish Bolshevism that they had to contain.
Yeah, that's the thing. Everyone clowns on the Nazi comparisons. They're like, that's too extreme, the COVID. And it's like, it doesn't have to be, it doesn't, it is. And it doesn't have to be like, ovens and 6 million dead for it to be corollaries to what went down during that era. There are some similarities. And the whole making people disease vectors and enemies for a natural process is super creepy. Where like you're blamed if someone else dies connected to you or something like that. Right, or just change down the line kind of thing.
Well, that's pseudoscience though, right? You can't like, what's the proof? Like, I walked by you. What if like my viral material isn't like, active? But not like they could tell the difference, but like there's no like, I just don't believe any of this is like
it's purposely cloudy.
Yeah, they call you a murderer. If you're unvaccinated, they're just like, you've probably killed somebody. It's like, what?
Yes.
Like doing the psychology of that, of like, just like you have, and it's
Yeah.
like, I'm not gonna read you your rights or anything. They're like, you killed somebody.
Yeah.
Like, and that's insane. And I'm like, again, I'm not even going to get too far into the like what we think's going to happen, because just like that doctor said, and I want to direct everyone to that video. I don't know the doctor's name, but he was a functional medicine doctor that was speaking today. I sent a couple. I can't remember who I sent it to, but I think I sent it to you, Cy.
I listened to it. It was great.
Yeah, no, it was great. And
I was fucking on my bike, and there was this train blocking the crossway for like 30 minutes. So I just watched that whole video when I was waiting for this train to get. Yeah, I'm like, just like, all right.
Trains, they run on time. Interesting.
Yeah.
It was another
Joe Biden, dude.
Yeah. No, it's just
another. Joe Biden's Hitler.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah. At least say what you will about him. But that doctor was saying, like, okay, why do we have a huge, massive outbreak in the summer right now? We didn't even have one last year without a vaccine.
Yeah, that's
so weird. So we think that now we vaccinated 50% of the country. That's what America is reporting, right? That's like the official number, is that it's right around 50% of the country. And you think that summer outbreak would happen? Like, you'd think it would just be like kind of a slow, gradual process to where it disappears, almost like if they were right that this worked. But like, it's not working, and we're getting blamed for it because they've actually think it's mutating in our bodies when really it's
isn't that this exactly what the problem is here? Like, they make it about personal decisions, like as if the society around us has no effect on our health.
Yeah.
What a ridiculous! You should be laughed out of medical school for something that's absurd. That like only the medicine I give you is the only variable that matters. Like the fact that you have like open sewage in like certain like very and like once again to the vulnerable communities thing. They're vulnerable because there's like a garbage dump right there, which is where the diseases are coming from. It's not from inside their bodies. It's because they live in trash. Like that is why people are like that. And then of course, let's think about what the public health restrictions have done for us. We've had, mandatory masks for so many workplaces that have mandatory masks. And like, I couldn't imagine working in a kitchen and having, because I used to work in a kitchen when I was 18, 19, and like if your whole mask would just be soaked with sweat and you're breathing that in, that can't be good for you.
That sucks.
It can't be good for you being isolated from your friends and family, not being able to see your dying loved ones because you're not vaccinated or there's a quote unquote outbreak in the hospital. That's gonna, hurt your health. So if you take out all the things that were, the hand sanitizer everywhere, that's not good for people. Like all these things are clearly like, that are in the name of public health are not helping people. Only they're obviously destroying the world around us, but they're not helping you. They're making your health worse. And then guess what? You have dead viral material around you, and they PCR test you. Boom, you're not sick because the whole world around you has become a very toxic place. You're sweating through a mask that you're breathing in. That and you can see all the masks being recalled all the time because of like toxic materials in them.
Yeah,
that's not what's doing it to you. It's because you didn't get vaccinated.
Yeah, it's literally what that is. It's and yeah, like even just to pivot, because Cy, didn't you have a question for Spencer? We were gonna ask it to Alex. Remember, it was about like the doctor threads or something.
Yeah. This whole thing on the
You might not know. We're just wondering. We just want to get like somebody who might know a thing or two about this.
I've been wondering on this whole. There was like this pretty big thread that came out the other day by I don't know if he was even a health professional or whatever, but he was like, COVID in kids is actually pretty serious. Here's all this data, that like we got to take the COVID in kids thing seriously. And it was like this long thread and it had all these like references, but we all know how that game goes, or you can paint any story you want kind of thing. And, none of us want kids to be hurt by COVID here. Right. I think we can all agree, but yeah, I'm just wondering because it's so that's been the best blessing of this disease is that it hasn't affected kids very much at all, and it's been, can you imagine if it was the opposite, right? That'd be a fucking nightmare.
Oh,
right?
Like the swine flu?
That's what I was going to bring up is that I looked at those. Did I send that to you, right? The fucking,
it was like 5 times. Something. Yeah. I don't want to spoil it.
Yeah. Like young kids died of the swine flu 10 years ago and no one really gave a fuck. Like we didn't shut down. We didn't.
I worked at a summer camp. I worked at a summer camp when that happened. I was like, I had to have been like 19 or something like that, 20, whatever that was. It was like 2011, 2012. So yeah, I was probably like early 20s when that happened. And I worked at a summer camp and they were kind of like, yeah, just don't let the kids like climb on you and shit, you know, like wash your hands every once in a while, you know, like don't shut the camp down, don't do anything like that. This is a disease that actually like killed kids and
it's
stuff.
just the weirdest thing. I don't get what's happening. I don't think it definitely doesn't reflect the virus. And again, my whole thing, I'm very pro immunity, and I think people should take vitamin D, for example. People should do a number of things that would, again, we shouldn't fucking enforce it like we enforce the vaccine, but we should be like, hey, you can seriously,
you're allowed to die.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
We don't want to die, so that's why I suggest you take some vitamin D, because then it'll last a little longer.
Yeah. So maybe just more broadly, I guess my question was, what do you think about these, like the propagandizing of science, especially when it relates to like the schools and the people that aren't really at risk, like NFL players and things like that?
Oh, there's a lot to unpack there, because I think I think what we're living through here is so much bigger than this one virus or this one set of lockdowns or anything. I think it's really like marking really turning a page on what people thought, life really was, because now it's turning into this whole, like you said, like it just makes no sense where children do die. Like, I mean, at the beginning of COVID, if you looked at the health outcomes from the flu, it was actually the most child deaths from the flu the year of COVID.
Yeah.
So, clearly like the health of kids is not going well. No one really thinks, maybe it's the fact they're like, in front of all the screens and all the, horrible food and all that stuff. That doesn't do anything to the kids.
They literally don't play with kids anymore either, which was how you used to kind of like get your natural immunity, was you'd get sick, like chicken pox and stuff, like sucks.
So change that all, like don't have kids socialize, have kids like totally in their like little silos, with like the screen around them, just to make sure they don't look at anything too intense, right? Because they could see something that would screw them up, like as if like YouTube would not be the place to see everything that would screw you up in life. So I think it's this whole like flipping the world on its head, and the way that things used to be. And this is like, not to make an aside about politics, but this is like a lot in like the fake left terminology. Like we talk about Ken Klippenstein, who's always like, oh, it was always like this, but it wasn't like this, Ken. We were never in a position where it's like, if you even suggested that the King of England didn't have your best interests in mind, like people would like look at you like you're fucking nuts and should be, in prison and all this kind of like crazy shit that's going on here. So I think it's like, when it comes to the kids and stuff like that, it's like we're setting the tone for like a generation.
Yeah.
Not like, the next like, oh, COVID will blow over in a year, everyone's going to get over. Like these kids are screwed for life now.
No, the psychic energy around it is entrenched now. It's like you can't just scrub this out. It's going to take some decades.
For formative years, they're going to remember this for the rest of their lives. Like this is with them forever. So I think it's just the tip of the iceberg of these fucking like horrible, like just the logic around it too, which is like, kids is like, this is what's going to protect kids. Like, I mean, look at like what they're going to do with like the whole climate change thing. Like, oh, getting on a plane and going on a vacation. That's like, that's the end of the world. Like Mother Gaia is dying, but then like, kids can be treated like whatever at Epstein Island when like Bill Gates wants to fly off to that. So like, I just think it's like, it just with all this stuff, it's setting up a really, really, disturbing, I don't even know the words I want to use, but
like precedents. Yeah. Like
yeah,
like these just don't matter the same way they used to, or like the assumptions we all made about what was like, important in life, our values, like that's like really under attack, I think. And I think that's why it's like so intense around the children.
Yeah.
No, I'm with you. That's let's pivot to that fake left stuff. PF with the Pfizer, fake left, because I think that
great name, by the way.
Oh man, it was just.
You came up with that, right?
Well, one of our episodes was called yes, I did, and one of it was called one of our episodes was called Fun with a PH, and so I was like, well, we could use that for like other shit. And sorry, this isn't, that just appeared.
Whoa,
that just
appeared. Look at that, dude.
Just appeared. I don't, just a little something. Yeah. And there may be shirts, stickers, who knows? Yeah. But I feel like Ron Burgundy with the jazz flute just popping out. Yeah. But the fake left, because that is like what they're most fake about. And it stems and it bleeds into everything, like everything. Yeah. This Pfizer thing is like this new, like they can't understand why somebody wouldn't want this. They can't understand why somebody wouldn't want this booster program. They're granted immunity. A lot of these people don't, and not to get too spiritual, they don't believe in an afterlife half the time. Because why not? Because they have this shot that is basically like keeping your life longer, because there is no afterlife, right? It's this weird concept that the left has, but they go like, I guess my question for you, Spencer, and we talked about this with Alex a lot on the last episode, but like, one, why does the left love pharmaceutical companies so much? Two, at what point, because you still have hope for a left, right? Just yes or no. You have hope.
I'm like, that's the hope is like, you know, inside my heart always for the people. Like,
okay. So yeah, you do. So, but where I'm soured, I've gotten to a point where I can't even call myself a leftist anymore. I don't believe any of my economics have changed at all. So like, but I just have, at what point does the fake left just become the left? You know, like how it's so poisoned to where even the small niche thing, us three talking, and there's people that agree with us. First time you came on, people loved it. And it was just like, man, it was so nice. These people that were disaffected from like the left, from the Bernie campaign, they're just like, yes, you know what I mean? But is that enough to where the fake left just becomes the left? Because I think connotations matter. And like, so when people say fake left, that as much as I love the saying, is it a cope?
So I think you bring up so many good points, because you I think you got to the root of the matter, which is what constitutes left? Like, what values, principles are we working off of that make us like different than like the rightoids? You know, what's the difference? And I think where like the fakes really took off and why that became so popular is, I think it's not so much a political thing, but more of a social issue that we're dealing with, where many of the petty bourgeois type people, so like middle class, you know, type people, really believe they're like a consumption of commodities, whether it be like media, t-shirt, shoes, whatever, that has a very important effect on the world, where that my aesthetic taste is like is helping something. So all they needed to do was slap a bunch of left aesthetics onto Reaganism, and people ran with it. And the exact example of that is AOC and the DSA. The people connected to Omidyar, they're just Reaganists. That's all they are. They're not, their political ideology is, it's ironic because they keep yelling about Milton Friedman, but they agree with Milton Friedman that the only way like an economy could ever be prosperous is like infinite growth.
Yeah.
They don't articulate anything else other than like, oh, because that we need to do the absolute opposite, which would be like, you know, constricting the economy to a point where like people have nothing. And then of course the proprietors who own everything, you know, their right to do that is like a divine right of God. And if you were to even suggest the Waltons give up everything they owe, that's like crime against like Jesus. Like you can't do that stuff, right? Mm-hmm. So I think that's where it's like, we need to like pin down exactly where like, because there's a weird windy road, and why they love pharmaceutical companies, that I'm still not really.
No, I don't get it.
I can't get it. Yeah. It's like it's a $1 billion corporation, tons of lawsuits before any of this shit. Opioid epidemic, which was like huge. Everyone on the left loved the opioid epidemic. Some shit. Yeah. All about that stuff. And of course, who was to blame? Right now, it turned into like it wasn't pharma, because now it's like the evil Sackler. It's like this evil elder of Zion, the Sackler family that, you know, just pulled a fast one on the nation and got everyone hooked on opioids, even though there's like the golden triangle of like Southeast Asia, Laos, Cambodia, Vietnam, where like great heroin is grown over there. Mm-hmm. Would really, really recommend people read Drugs as Weapons. John L. Potash gets into all like the drug stuff, because I find it very interesting that it's like the left has yet to connect, you know, pharmaceuticals, global drug trade, heroin, Afghanistan being a giant heroin place now. You know, before America showed up like 1%, now after America, it's like 90% of the world's heroin's there.
Yeah.
So it's like how the left cannot connect these like not too disparate like nodes may point in the direction of a lack of historical understanding of how we got to this place, which then kind of circles back to what I was saying in the beginning, which is that instead of it being history, you're not like reading a book and like trying to learn like, oh, where did things go right? Where did things go wrong? How did the struggle play out? It's more like, oh, well, like, you know, because of these like weird personalities, you know, evil Stalin did this, and then like good guy JFK, and then next thing you know, we're here today with like bad Trump and good Biden taking over. And that if I just, you know, consume the right aesthetic and like put out the right and like retweet the right celebrities, that are saying the right things, and like that's what's going to constitute a left, as opposed to something like, you know, what we're talking about here, which is like, you know, seeing it as like vaccine mandates, public health, quote unquote public health restrictions. What does that do to like the lowest rung of society? What does that change? How does that change the way, like change the world around us? Like what makes the world the way it is today? I mean, if you ask a lot of fakes, they're going to be like, oh, the evil Kochs do this, and like the evil this family, and then you kind of get this from like the really crazy conspiracy. Oh, it's those damn Rothschilds doing everything. You know, it's kind of the same type of thinking, right? Where it's like you don't have that kind of like, I call it rooted in reality, but it's more, I think it might be like more of like you kind of like, I don't know. It's like there's a connection you got to have with other people and know that like it wasn't, we're not all just rubes being tricked by evil scions, and that's how we ended up in the world we are today. That there's like
other shit going on.
We're all in, and that we can all connect to, and we can all build like across the world because like we're all the same. Like I don't know, like that part of the left seems to be like really like that whole like feeling stuff seems to be like very pointed in the direction right now of like, oh, you care about people overseas, like make sure they get vaccinated. So like the real thing there, which is that you care, and like you can recognize we're all going through something similar, but how it got so twisted into the only people who can save us are the pharma gods. That is like, I think maybe like, you know, a few masters and a few PhD dissertations.
It's a beautiful piece of propaganda. You know, it's a beautiful, it's great. First of all, that was beautiful. Everything that was an amazing explanation for what's going on. I don't want to speak for Glenn, but I agree 100%.
Disagree entirely. Thanks for not speaking for me. No, I'm kidding.
Now we're all on the same page, but let me just play devil's advocate. Why exactly are vaccine passports anti-authentic left, according to you?
Yeah, so that one is a weird one, because like you see so many fake left people. I saw Ben Burgess being like, of course I'm pro-vaccine mandate, pro-passports. Like, what the of course?
Yeah. Then they hedge. They hedge too. Like they'll be like, of course I'm pro-vaccine. Of course I'm pro-mandate. I just don't think we should be militant about it. And it's like, well, that's how they're gonna do it, Ben. Fucking fat ass. Like, yeah, I mean, like, I'm serious, dude. Like, come on, like that's how they're gonna do it. Like you cannot. That is a bet that
feminist social workers, it wouldn't be so bad, guys. But instead, it's evil cops that, of course, like, because once again, we're at gunpoint here. Like, you know, I don't really care. Like, honestly, to everyone out there vaccinated, like, I honestly still feel like great towards you. I still like love and care about you. This isn't about you. This isn't about what you're trying to do.
I'm gonna wear a mask around them because I don't want spike proteins, but I still like you.
Literally zero contempt for anyone for anything. But like, can we not see here that demanding people present some proof that they can be there kind of goes against everything about like freedom and freedom. That is what is wrong with the left. The people have been convinced that like all these things that people like care about, like, and I think this is because they have right-wing bad actors who say stuff that's like, you know, like the free speech debates, right? Where they're like, oh, this is a freedom. Like you care about free speech or whatever, like you can't say whatever you want anyway. And then now they
make it cringe.
Very important that people say, I'm not okay with vaccines are this and that. But now, of course, because like of the moral panic of freedoms gone awry, and they need to be like, you know, tampered by the very smart left who are playing the game of politics better than the right, which is like another messed up area of this, is like viewing this all as like some kind of fucking Game of Thrones thing where you're just trying to like control like West Wing level shit. But like, once again, TV consumption has really rotted these people's brains. But yeah, so really strong belief. It's rooted in the freedom weaponization, where they're trying to take stuff like freedom of speech, which obviously like Milo Yiannopoulos, not a hero of the people, that's not what I'm saying here.
He beat homosexuality, though. I have to give him credit for that. He's no longer a homosexual.
He beat it quicker than he beat COVID.
He conquered it. He conquered his own homosexuality.
So there you go. Like, I mean, like it's obviously not real people. Like Milo Yiannopoulos is not the
hilarious.
So it's a crazy person, right? Like, but then like they put that in their mouths and they're like, oh yeah, now freedom of speech, terrible. Freedom of movement, terrible.
Candace Owens too. Candace Owens actually has been dropping like decent fucking facts, like the same shit we've been saying this whole time. And these people will be like, oh, you have the same politics as Candace Owens, which to me, that
she
could be
as us because we're right and she wants to be on the winning team. It's
And not even that, like, not even that. Maybe they're intentionally, like, the same way that like nationalized labor could have been attached to Trump and to like poison the well intentionally. Like, people, like, you could even look at Trump. I have this weird thing where like my brain is so fucked up and I do need to log off. I plan on doing that, taking a little break because I am going insane. But like, look at Trump. Like, even if you wanted to look at Trump as like the ultimate controlled opposition, I don't know if I'm there yet, but like nationalized labor. Well, that's Trump said that, so it's fucking stupid. We don't want to ever do that. We're going to do free trade and ruin labor. You know what I mean? Like, whatever Trump says, Trump could just be like, hey, don't kill your neighbor. Got to kill my neighbor. You know what I mean? Like there's, Candace Owens.
It's like a goldfish in a bowl.
So Candace Owens could have been saying, like, you can't sue vaccine manufacturers for liability. Why are we not questioning that? And people will be like, well, Candace Owens said it, so it's wrong. Right. And you'll see that happen with a lot of this stuff. Like like we're right. We know we're right for this stuff. Like, we know we are. But like to the people who say I have the same politics as Candace Owens, if you mandate vaccines, you have the same politics as Richard Spencer because he wants you to have vaccines. So take that. You know what I mean? Richard Spencer, Mitch McConnell. A lot of these people love vaccinations. So we can play that game forever. And I want it.
It's just aesthetics. They're just mad at you about aesthetics. You're like, somebody's saying something I don't like, and they're saying something similar to you. So the aesthetic is wrong. And now you're wrong. And it's not about what anyone said. Like, is there facts, values, principles in anything that we said? No. It came from Turning Point USA. Something I heard similar to that is
right.
I don't want the Turning Point USA aesthetic on my perfect social media that has all the best woke brands and slogans. So that's what it comes down to. I'm like, wow. That's
great that you bring that up because Caleb Maupin had that Bread Tube Serves Imperialism book. And one thing that got me thinking about, you know, some people have different opinions about him, whatever, that's fine. I think genuinely he's right about a lot of stuff, at least especially when it comes to that bread tube shit, where he's saying, like, I don't know if this is his theory, but in my opinion, I'm like, a lot of leftism, and this could just be like, you know, 22-year-old like college Marxoid people, but like, it's ironic that they don't believe in ethical consumption. A lot of them don't believe that there's any kind of ethical consumption in capitalism. And that's a whole nother debate, but they reduce leftism down to the consumer choice. Like they're like, oh, you listen to this person? Sorry. Drop your rose, turn in your rose. Sorry, you remember that one. Turn in your rose. Yeah, take the rose out of your thing. That's you don't have that anymore. And like, no, they do that. And it's crazy. That's kind of what the fake left is to me, is like ultimately a consumer choice, which again is like, you're basically like accelerating capitalism at that point. And then
that's what the difference is. You're accelerating capitalism on the left with lefty type pictures, with left-ish kind of things going on, like people mobilizing for a march for the climate, which aka is just a fucking like green billionaire bullshit. Like, it's nothing to do with anything, but it's like, oh, but people in the past would do this. So now that we're doing it now, it's like the past, which is like, I'm like obviously illogical and stupid, but like, you can't tell these people that because they're like, oh, but this is how it's always been. I'm part of the tradition. And it's like, what tradition of Buffalo Springfield, like blasting fucking for what it's worth? Like that, those are state agents. That never happened at an anti-war protest. Buffalo Springfield were pro-war. For what it's worth is about a fucking kid fighting the cops on like Sunset Boulevard or something. It's nothing to do with like Vietnam or anything, but people have been so like, from the shit they watch on TV, right? So like they really believe that is real, and that's what I think it's like really fucking me up, because it's like I like to consume, like I watch the NFL.
Oh yeah,
to me, I get it. I get what it's like to want to consume things, but like, can you not just still have like principles where you're like, yeah, this is like clearly wrong? But like,
you don't adopt the ideology of the NFL though. Like you're able to just watch it. Like, and not be like engulfed, but yeah, I mean, like I might be like, you know, absorbed in the West Coast offense or something, you know, but like, I'm not going to be like, you know, oh, the NFL told me John Legend has an NFL commercial and now I'm going to go get my Pfizer shot. Like, that's not where I'm at. And I was funny. I just real quick pivot so Spencer, I think you're familiar with this guy too. He's a real, I've been talking to him lately. His name's Jeremy on Twitter. It's at Lafredo Jeremy. Yeah, like really good poster. And this was something that really about this passport thing. And this is a trip, dude. If I'm Trump, I'm tripping if I were to read this. You know that they're making borders, like new borders with the vaccines? Like there's certain vaccines, and I'll pull it up on the screen here. You can't
travel. Yeah. Well, yeah. Canadians can't come to America with AstraZeneca.
Yeah.
which was the I think they changed the name from AstraZeneca.
Look at this. Yeah, so like you have AstraZeneca is vaccine accepted abroad. There's sites where you can like enter in the vaccine that you have. Can you go to this place?
You can go to America. Think about that.
Sinovac, you can't go. Our Chilean friend, he can't come up here and hang out with us.
Russian.
You know what I mean? Yeah, it's Sputnik is not valid in Canada. So like you get this stuff, and like the UK has one. I'll pull it up too. The UK is like crazy about this. So like this is like liberalism. Like they realize that the wall thing isn't popular, and like being tough on immigration isn't necessarily popular amongst the woke crowd. But if there's a medical emergency, why not establish new borders? This is on the red list of the UK, the countries that cannot travel to the UK. What do you notice about a lot of these countries? Reading in there, Afghanistan, Angola, Argentina.
A lot of BIPOCs.
Yes, Bangladesh, Bolivia, Botswana, Brazil,
Zimbabwe, Tanzania.
And of course, I would Venezuelans, like like come on, and see, there you go, right? So with the left people, is it like, can they not understand that like restricting people's freedom of travel is like,
they were just open borders like a year and a half ago. All of them were open borders.
Like if you think about like 60s, 70s airline travel, it's like, that's where people were flying all over the world to go meet up with people like revolutionaries from like Vietnam and stuff like that. Like African revolutionaries were flying everywhere, and like, Palestinian revolutionaries hijacked a plane to make a point. So I feel like it's like, the ruling class definitely saw like the very big threat that is like us moving around, us talking to each other, people flying, going to another country, be like, hey, this is just like my country. Weird how like it's on a shit over here with the same type of people believing the same type of shit.
Yeah.
And so they get rid of all that, and that forever. Tell you it's medical emergency, you can't get on a plane, medical emergency, climate emergency, your emissions are killing it. Oh, and 3, there could be a terrorist on board, so we need to make sure there's like cops everywhere. So it's like how, and I guess, why the left is the way it is. I guess we kind of got to go back to like the left gatekeepers of 9/11 too, like Noam Chomsky and Alexander Coburn, who's now dead. But like a lot of them were like very like, you think anything wrong with 9/11? You're just like the JFK people.
Yeah. And then I'm sorry, I have to clarify. I do have to clarify what Jeremy was talking about. This is for the UK thing. So coming from a red list country, I hope you can afford this 2,285, what is that, pounds or euros, per person quarantine fee and rule, which mandates 10 days in a government approved hotel. Those who do not pay up face a fine of 10,000, which is 13,778 USD, and a jail sentence of up to 10 years, not or and. So like, again, I am not pro open borders, but that ain't it. And that's going to pass with flying colors.
It's well, I mean, it's as long as it's part of this virus milieu, I feel like it gets like the kid gloves treatment from the left, where it's like, oh well, it's for the virus, so it's like
it's only for that.
Civil liberties are trampled and people are discriminated against. It's for the virus, so someone's going to be discriminated, and there's always discrimination in capitalism, so it's okay if people are discriminated against.
Yeah,
it's like, well, people are discriminated against because of the fact that everyone kind of agreed to discriminate against people, which now that we're now agreeing again, it's like, wouldn't it make sense now as left to be like, hey, now we shouldn't be discriminating against anybody anymore? But like, I guess like virus.
It's a genius plan. I'm not going to lie. They pulled it off masterfully. Like it's watching it. I mean, because even the left, like, oh, it's only for COVID, dude. Like, chill out. This is not going to be like the new thing. These people believed it was going to be 2 weeks at the beginning. I'll never listen to them ever again. I'm sorry. Like anybody who's telling me, dude, it's just for this. It's that clown makoup meme where it's this like constantly putting on the clown makeup. It's the second time I love that shit. Yeah, and then you're finally, it's like, dude, Open Brothers is a Koch brother thing. It's like, this
last
is
frame's like, actually, it's great. Yeah, it's like we wanted this.
You're letting Pfizer rule the fucking world, dude. I'm sorry, or because that's hilarious, dude. I'm not sure. I'd have to read more. And I want to get Jeremy on the show actually to talk about this. But like, is Pfizer banned anywhere?
Yeah, that's what's crazy is that everyone, like, that was the social thing to be like, oh, I'm a Pfizer branded person. Like, yeah, does no one see this? Like, you're just cattle and you have the best brand.
Oh,
evil Russian brand. Or
I'm grass fed. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, straight up.
Jeremy brings up a great point about this whole like certain vaccines aren't allowed in certain places. there's no, like, this is what the world is going to be like, where it's, you're confined due to like medical reasons, this area, well, medical, you know, scare quotes medical. So that's how they're going to trap people. Like, this is just another control mechanism of being like, oh, you don't have the right vaccine, so now you can't enter this part of the world anymore. So now it'll be like, oh, everyone who gets those like specific, like, and how it's decided is basically the spheres of influence, more or less how the kind of the world already works, which like Canada being part Commonwealth, so it gets like the English AstraZeneca vaccine that was like in Europe and stuff like that. So that's kind of like those kinds of things played out. But like that's what also traps people, because now it'll be like, oh, Canadians can go to Commonwealth places, but they won't be able to go to the United States. And I'm like, why don't they want them to intermingle? I'm like, oh, they probably realize it's like a little bit more in common than, and that magic line in the sand and on the 49th parallel doesn't really do shit. Or, you know, just the same on the either side of the West Coast, like we all are, you know. So it's just, I can't as the left's like they're just at this point throwing the fight, because there's so many things that would, like you said, like with the border stuff, like that's what this is. This is just a way. It's not the wall. It's like you put the wall in people's fucking arms, so now they can't go anywhere. Like,
yeah, a wall is more humane. Well,
and that, once again, like, it's like, do people like the idea of, like, you know, being trapped in this country? Like, no, they don't. They don't like the idea, you know. But you know what they probably would agree with? Like, oh, I'm trapped here because there's an evil virus outside.
Yeah, I know it's popular now, and then I could see people complaining about it. I didn't know this buyer's remorse type thing after it's already been established, after it's swimming in your system, because, you know, even some of these vaccines they're said to not just stay in one area in your body. These are like just today it was gene therapy. Like everybody keeps calling it gene therapy, and they're like, yeah, actually it's not gene therapy. Snopes and stuff like came out and said it's not gene therapy, but then you could pull up articles from like 2 months ago, and it's like, meet the new era of gene therapy, like in like Time magazine. Like it's like
they want both. They want both.
Get over it, guys. Like,
yeah. And then it's not. But shit, man. Spencer, I appreciate you coming through again. We'll have to do it again sometime.
Please.
Yeah, we'll have to do
ever.
Yeah.
You rock. Yeah,
your check's in the mail for sure.
Exactly.
But yeah,
it's always so much fun when you come on.
You get no, it's great. We'll do it again. And you're on Twitter, you're at Spencer Latu, right? And then anything else, anywhere else you want people to find you, or do you even want people to find you? Tough nowadays. You don't want people
authorities to find me. Only people down for the revolution, please find me.
There we go.
Got it. Well, that's good. We have a pretty decent
people on RareCandy.
We have some quality. We have some quality people. Some like ironic listeners that are just like, dude, you guys had a fucking teacher that wrote an article that's so cool. Like, they'll do that and stuff. I'm like, yeah, we did, which is awesome. Yeah. I mean, it's a cool bit. Like, it's whatever. Yeah. I'm glad you listen to things you hate. Like, but
actually, I want more COVID true believers listening. Some more brunch COVIDians to come listen.
Yeah. Exactly. Well, this is at RareCandy Pod 1 on Twitter. Just click all the links in there. You can find us. Subscribe on iTunes. Leave a review. Subscribe to the channel on YouTube. There's this will be coming out next week, but I don't think we said anything too time sensitive, so I think we should be good. That's it for us, guys.
All right, have a good one, guys.